Welcome back. The New York Foundling is an organization believing all children, adults, and families have the opportunity to reach their full potential. Now, the organization provides youth with alternatives to incarceration and prevents their involvement in the justice system. Joining us now is the Vice President of the Family Justice Programs. I'm pleased to be joined by LaTasha Fermin. And LaTasha, glad to have you.
Hi, Daren. How are you? Happy to be here.
Thank you. And I want to have this conversation because when we talk about working with young people, and I know this is, your strong suit, talk about alternatives to incarceration. Let me just start off with a real basic question. Many people have opposition to alternatives to incarceration, but talk to us about the benefits of alternatives to incarceration.
Yeah, absolutely, especially with our youth. In our Families Rising program, we work with not only youth, but adults from 13 to 27. And so it really gives them that second chance. And I know it's taboo to say second chance, but we really do. We get in there and we understand kind of what was going on that caused these behaviors that led to the involvement in the criminal justice system or the juvenile justice system. And it's a rehabilitation. So we really get to have a conversation with not only the person at question as far as like the offender, but also their families. We look at kind of where they live, their resources, and what are their strengths and skills, most importantly, and how to help them waiver those as we work on kind of their needs.
So when we talk about juvenile justice, obviously we have a lot of young people that go through the system or approaching the system or in the system, and the need to really be able to give them the help that they need. I know that your organization works very front and center with this. Share with us a little bit about some of your programs.
Of course, absolutely. Happy to. So starting with one of our mentoring programs. So we have our adolescent mentoring program. It is part of the ACS DYFJ Division of Youth and Family Justice. It's funded by ACS. We serve the Bronx. Right now, we're currently in the Bronx. There's different providers that serve different boroughs, but New York Foundling is serving all of the Bronx. We serve youth from 12 to 18 who are looking for more of a mentorship leadership type feel. Our mentees are those who are usually college students coming from the same neighborhoods who can really relate and help them understand. We do everything from college prep. We talk about college success prep. We take them on trips. We just went to Great Adventure not too long ago. We give them stipends for participation because we appreciate their time, and also it helps for some encouragement for them. We meet one time a week with the family and the youth. We do everything that they may need, anything from resume skills to just someone to talk to other than their family members. So really that one-on-one time. And so that's our adolescent mentoring program. We have our KEYS, Kids Experiencing Young Success program. That is what we call a PINS, Person in Needs of Supervision, diversion program. And what that means is the youth that we have that are from 12 to 17, they are not yet in the juvenile justice system, meaning they have not had an offense where there is a case open or they're working with a probation officer. However, they are showing high risk behaviors where we get mostly our referrals through ACS, but most importantly from parents or teachers who are seeing those behaviors and really feel like if they get the early intervention they need, which is our services, we can stop them from entering into the system. And so we provide 3 evidence-based models within that program. We serve the Bronx with 2 of our models, as well as in Brooklyn and Manhattan and Staten Island. The models that we have are called brief strategic family therapy, functional family therapy, and multisystemic therapy. So that's our KEYS program, and kind of working on the continuum. So I kind of went from our lowest program as far as just kind of the mentoring, getting and reaching and touching our youth, to those who have a little higher risk behaviors, to now our youth who are in, unfortunately, our criminal and Supreme Court system. And that's our Families Rising program. Our Families Rising program works with youth and adults. We recently extended from 18 to 27 in the last year. So we're excited about that extension based on all the great work we were doing with youth from 13 to 17. In that program, we use the Family Functional Therapy Program. I'm happy to say that we are the only ATI, as we refer to, Alternative to Incarceration program, that does evidence-based models. And why we're so excited is evidence-based models are proven research with numerous clinical trials to show the effectiveness if done correctly with families. Other programs, they do a little bit of maybe a traditional and then maybe an evidence-based, but we're 100% evidence-based programs. We do a lot of work with judges. You know, we have brown paper bag sessions sometimes quarterly where we sit down with judges and we really understand what are the cases they're seeing, what are the concerns they're seeing. And from there, we get referrals from defense attorneys. They reach out to us. We've been around since 2012. So we've had a long-standing relationship throughout the 5 boroughs to which we serve. And with that, we work with them to ensure that either we prevent them from even entering into the system, meaning even touching Rikers. So we have some where they have been diverted, where a youth has been given the chance that if they successfully, you know, if they're under 17, if they successfully complete our program, they can get what is called YO status. Because these youth, particularly in the Families Rising program, they are facing a felony charge. And unfortunately, we know what that does to a youth if they then have a felony charge. You know, it's really hard for them for the rest of their life to get a good job or, you know, really succeed in life. So what I am happy to say is that with our program, we have worked with the judges that we're able to get their record sealed, which is youth offender status. We have done that for the past couple of years since 2012. And it's been great to see a lot of our youth successfully graduate our program, which we have an 80% success rate at, and to see them really get a restart of their life. You know, they make mistakes. And when we go into the homes, what we do is we work with them in looking once again, always at their strengths. What are they good at? What are they interested in? And then we really look at kind of what were the concerns. And a lot of times it's really lack of resources. And I mean lack of resources, outlets. You know, we have kids who may like boxing, but unfortunately the family can't afford boxing. So what do? We find resources, we collaborate. New York Foundling has a lot of great community partnerships. For example, like with the door, you know, and we connect our youth and we make sure that they get that kind of full round services. We also provide psychiatric services for them through our clinic. And then for them also with our older adults that are in the Families Rising program, we've had lesser sentences, as well as even just sentences down to just probation. So we're really excited about the Families Rising program there.
You talked a little bit about having the access to services because recidivism is you know, a thing that everybody's concerned about. Don't want to see a young person go right back into the system after they've gotten out. But the reality is many times they have to go back to the same environment that they came from. And sometimes there is no help there. So they revert back to what they used to do. But talk to us about the importance of having these access to services, because as I see the work that you do, the difference maker is you're there and you're present, but everybody is not always afforded that opportunity.
Yep, absolutely. I would love to. So the difference about our evidence-based services is, one, we're in the homes. So we're not asking you to come to us. We come to you based on your time. We have master's clinicians who come into the home at your time. So we have families who, you know, work say from 10 to 8. So guess what? Our therapists are in the home with permission at 7 a.m. doing sessions with the family. We are in the home any minimum 1 time to 3 times a week. We are available 24/7. And we make sure that we are available when in regards to, you know, first, if you need to go to a school meeting, we prep the families to how to talk to school stakeholders, how to talk to teachers. You wouldn't believe how many, you know, we walk into homes and unfortunately the youths are not on their right grade or their IEP has expired years ago. You know, so we help empower the families. That's most important. Like I said many times, we really focus on the strengths and then we work to lever those strengths to help them grow with what their concerns are. And most importantly, we talk to the family to see what they want to work on. You know, most importantly, we see that a lot of providers, sometimes they come in with some prescription and say, well, you know what, you have X issue, so this is what you're going to do to fix it. We really take our time, and our services are usually anywhere from 4 to 8 months, and we really work. And if there's a hiccup and, you know, there's an issue, we work through that as well. We go to court appearances, we go to schools, we go to doctor's visits, we're there at clinic appointments. So we're really there 100%, and we make sure that we differentiate ourselves where, sometimes they may say we're ACS, for example, because we're funded through ACS. We want to ensure that we show them that they are part of our family and that we want them to grow. And most importantly, that we want them to sustain on their own. We want them to be independent. We don't want them to continue in the cycle of services.
Take me back for a minute. I want to go back to your mentorship program. When we talk about adolescent mentors, I know you had mentioned previously about how the young people have mentors that are not too much older than them. How much of a difference maker is that, having these mentors that can kind of like relate?
Yeah, it's extremely important. Extremely important. I'm a little older. I'm not going to say how old, but nowadays, the youth, I don't know their language. I don't even know how to engage sometimes, so it really is important for someone who's not that far removed from them, but yet still has some more experience than they are, where they can talk to them. They know the neighborhood. They can, start just engaging them, where that's the most important to the relationship, as you know, where it's like, it could be somebody from the same neighborhood in the Bronx, where it's like, oh, you know what? I used to do this such and such when I was younger, and just have a conversation, not just first focusing on their needs or issues, but getting to know them as a person. And I really think it is really huge that for that engagement, that person is a little older, but not too much, to kind of start that engagement, start that interest. And it honestly makes the mentees feel safe as well.
Yeah. And so your work really is boots on the ground. Talk to us about the impact, because a lot of times we hear the work that goes on, but we don't always get to hear the impact and the success stories. We know about the person comes in with a problem, or the person, has these issues, but sometimes we don't even hear the other side of that. So from your perspective, your time in working, share with us a little bit about that.
Sure, absolutely. So where can I start? I mean, the impact really is about empowerment. So we really work to empower our families to, like I said, be independent, that they are not in that cycle of kind of ongoing services, and we've seen that through, a lot of our success stories. And kind of one of our success stories that we've had, one of our very beginning stories in our Families Rising program, was a young man. He was about 14 years old, if I remember correctly. This is back in 2012. And unfortunately, he was, with the wrong crowd. He was part of a gang. He was the youngest member of the gang. And there was a shootout in a park. And unfortunately, he was used as what we call the human holster. He was given the gun because a lot of folks know that if you give the younger kid, he might escape some charges. Well, at that time, New York City does charge youth at that time, before raise the age, charge youth as an adult. And so he was up for charges as an adult. And we entered the Families Rising program. We advocated for this youth with the judge. We talked about kind of, the missed opportunities that he had, that we were seeing in the home, and we were able to get him into our program. And I am happy to say he's an adult now, but I'm happy to say at the end of our program, as I mentioned earlier, he got what we called YO status, youth offender status, where his record was sealed. So he was able to enter college and not have to explain. And he actually went off to college. And we actually talked to him and used him a lot when we have kind of, events and talking about our programs.
Yeah. And it's a great story to know that difference is being made. Looking at the work that you do, talk to us about, what do you find to be some of the existing challenges right now that you're trying to overcome and trying to help in the area of juvenile justice?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you referenced it earlier. Everyone's not on board for the ATI rehabilitation type front. They see, I hate to say it, but they label our youth. They label the offenders that they are that crime. They don't see beyond that, unfortunately. And so there's a lot of advocacy that we do on a daily basis with, lawyers, social workers in the courts, just to make sure that they are aware of our services and how we can help and our effective rate. It's an ongoing battle, because there is a lot of opposition still out there to these type of services, where folks are scared that, they will reoffend. and what are you going to do to stop them? You can't do nothing to stop them. It'll be easier just to kind of keep them in jail. So it's a lot of advocacy and conversations with different platforms, community leaders, community stakeholders about what our services are and how they really can help. And most importantly, really engaging folks, because there are some folks who are skeptical that, yeah, it sounds great, but do you really have the evidence to back it up? And we do, but once again, it's ongoing conversations and engagement and letting them know that we're here and this is what we do. And like I just spoke about, success stories that we have the proof.
Yeah. Well, I want to leave it there, but thank you so much. We got to leave it there. And thank you for sharing with us and letting us know, LaTasha, a lot of the great work that's going on, and certainly the impact that you're making on so many youth and families' lives is really critical. Thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure. Thank you, Daren.
All righty, LaTasha Fermin, our guest. Listen, we got more show. Don't go anywhere. We're going to continue right here on the Social Justice Forum.